Y'all, we're about to make some fancy cookies. We're going to start with some almond paste. Now, if you've never worked with this stuff before, it is really interesting. Then we're going to put an entire cup of white sugar and a stick of butter in there with it. Make sure you keep the butter at room temperature or warmer. See how much easier it's going to be to stir all this together whenever your butter's liquid. Exactly. Now you're going to break up that almond paste. You can use it for all kinds of amazing, delicious desserts. And let me see, what is the name of that stuff? Marzipan. One of my absolute favorite confections in the whole world. Now you can see the way that we blended it with the sugar here. It's got this wonderful crumbly texture there with the butter as well. We're going to keep adding butter to this. What we want to do is just make sure that we get that first mix in. Going to add 2 more full sticks of softened butter to this just to make sure that it's got the perfect consistency. What we're making is one of the tastiest cookies you will ever put in your face. Now, it's got a little preparation. I will not lie to you, but what it is a beautiful thing to behold. Now, once you've got 2 more of those butter sticks in there, you're going to handy mix her again. Make sure you get her all good and blended so smoothly together. Use your handy-dandy trusted rubber spatula to get all the goody off of the sides of the bowl. Bring your batter down to the bottom and in the middle, okay? Want to make sure we don't lose any of it here. We're going to blend it up again because if you don't, you're going to have to worry about separation. The butter is still going to separate from those other ingredients. Now we're going to add 4 egg yolks right there into the middle, okay? And after every 1 or 2, you want to give it just a little blend just to make sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves, all right? You're like, well, why couldn't you just put them all in at once? Well, because that's not how we do it. So we're going to very gently add them 1 by 1 or 2 by 2 like animals in the ark and then give it a good blend. Now, we're going to save those whites for just a little bit later, so don't get rid of those, okay? We're going to get all that goody again off the sides of the bowl, moving the batter down to the bottom and into the center, okay? Perfect. Time for some milk. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of milk. I love whole, skim, whatever it is you're working with. To cook, I especially love the whole. Then we're going to add a couple of teaspoons of vanilla flavoring. And back in here with the mixer. Again, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say delicate, but it is definitely a specific process. We're going to add a whole cup of flour. And please be careful whenever you're mixing that in. If not, you can make a big old mess in the kitchen, all right? Start on your low setting and then kind of work your way up as you continue to blend your ingredients a little more thoroughly. Again, put your goody in the middle and down in the bottom of the bowl. Here we are. Now, what we're going to do now is add yet another cup of flour into it, okay? Again, we're doing this step by step to make sure, number 1, we don't get ahead of ourselves with our ingredients, and number 2, we don't make a mess. Not everybody's an expert in the kitchen. We're trying to be mindful of that. Myself included. Y'all continue to teach me new and wonderful things every single day that we make videos for you here on the James B Show. But now, we got that set up. Now it's time to bring in those egg whites that we were talking about earlier. So we got 4 egg whites, and what we're going to do is just whip these up into almost a meringue, okay? So you're going to be hand mixing those for a good 5 to 7 minutes. Pour that whipped egg white down there into your batter, and you're going to get ready to hand mix those as well. You can fold it if you want to get that wet and the dry sort of mixed together, but we're just going to go straight to hand mix and go ahead and get those really well blended together. With all of these ingredients and the steps we're making, it's going to make such a rich and beautiful batter. It's really going to turn into something wonderful. Y'all, I love this recipe. It makes the most gorgeous cookies. It's almost like a special occasion cookie. Now, what we're going to do is separate our batter into thirds, okay? Now, for this 1/3, I'm going to add green food coloring. I'm going to zhuzh it up, and we'll get into this beautiful green batter. See how we're doing here? Oh man, it looks like we pureed a leprechaun. And again, get your goody down in the middle at the bottom of the bowl. For this next one, we're going to add a few drops of red food coloring, all right? Going to put a little swirl of that in there and back in with the hand mixer. Going to make sure that we get as red a batter as possible, okay? Hot pink will work. That's close enough to red for government work, says I. Now you're going to get your papered pans, and you're going to go ahead and put those down in there. Now, it's real important that we keep the oven at a warmer temperature, so it's going to be 425 with these. And we're going to spread that batter down at the bottom of your pan to all the corners and all the sides, okay? We're going to do the exact same thing with our red. We're going to put that with a papered pan, and then you're going to just empty that batter in the bottom of the bowl. Spread it real aggressively, okay? Again, we want to make sure we get all the way to the sides and all the way to the corners, okay? So make sure you get all that goodie out. Since we've dyed all of the batter, it's real easy to see if there's any left at the bottom of the bowl. Don't be leaving none of it, okay? It's just too delicious to waste. And again, all the way to the corners, all the way to the sides. With our last one, we're just going to use the natural color because this is going to be our quote-unquote white layer, all right? So you're just going to go ahead and get all of that with your handy-dandy trusted rubber spatula. Get all the goodie off the side of the bowl and into your pan and just smear it around. Make sure it goes to the sides and the corners just like we did the other 2 layers, okay? Now then, after about 30 minutes, you're going to get 3 layers. You're going to get your green layer. You're going to get your red layer. And of course, you're going to get your natural or your quote-unquote white layer. Look at that, how beautiful. And very gently, you're going to pull at the paper to remove these from the bottom of the pans, okay? Going to let them cool thoroughly. And then we're going to start with our green layer, okay? We're going to put that down, and we're going to make sure we're working on the middle of the surface. And then we're going to use jam for the in-between. Now, I've chosen raspberry, but you can get after it with just about any flavor you like. I usually try to stick to like a red berry, like a strawberry, or even a raspberry like this one. I love it. Strawberry has just a little bit more seed to it usually. So I guess that just depends on what it is you want to go here in the middle. Totally up to you. If your family doesn't like it and y'all want to try grape, get after it. We're here for it. Next, we're going to put in that white layer. And same thing, we're going to make a jam layer in between. Now, you don't want to get too heavy-handed with this, okay? If you put too much jam in between these layers, it has a tendency to get just a little soggy. So be mindful of that, okay? You want to get a good coverage, but you don't want it to just cake up. Next and last, we're going to put that beautiful red layer. Look how pretty that turned out, would you? Oh my goodness. Now, we're not going to put a jam layer on this because we have another outside layer in store for this. So what we want to do is go ahead and make this just as even as we can on all the sides by cutting off all of our crust. Now, don't get rid of it. That stuff's wonderful. That is reward for the baker, okay? That ain't going to be a part of the finished product. That's what the person who put in all the work gets to enjoy. Next, we're going to use a cup of chocolate chips, and we're going to microwave those to get a beautiful chocolate coating, and we're going to put that outside our 3-layer cake cookie. So get ready. We're going to just scoop that out, about half of it, onto the top of this cake cookie, all right? So put that down and make sure you get a really good layer. Again, similar situation. You don't want to get too thick with it, but you do want to make sure it gets good coverage. Then you can just use the tines of a fork to draw these beautiful designs into the top because eventually it will cool and harden. So you want to make sure it's got some sort of like little design up here to make sure that it has something pretty to look at instead of just those knife marks that you used while you were spreading it. We're going to pop that into the fridge for about 45 minutes and it's going to come out solid. Beautiful. Now we're going to very gently flip it and we're going to put another layer of that on the underside. You're probably going to have to nuke that chocolate chip mixture again just to make sure it stays good and soft. And then you're going to spread all that all over the bottom of this too. Now this is going to be the bottom, so it doesn't really matter if you want to do that tines of the fork situation, but you can. We're going to pop it back into the fridge for about another 30-45 minutes till it gets good and solid. Flip her again just to make sure we've got the most design side up. And then we're going to cut it into squares. Just as simple as that. And now you've got these beautiful Italian flag cookies. Because whenever you look on the inside, it's going to be red, white, and green, just like the flag of Italy. If international ain't your flavor, we can also call it a Christmas cookie. Red, green, white, shoot ya. Santa Claus loves them. Leave 4 or 5 of these by the fireplace with a big cold glass of milk, you'll probably end up with a fuller stocking than if you left him chocolate chip. But yeah, you're just going to cut them into these little squares, almost like a cube. They're beautiful. They are delicious. They are a little bit on the delicate side, but my goodness, they're good. Wish you'd look at that, how beautiful. Yes, please.